Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I want to introduce you to another one of my new designs for foam stamps. Now, before we get going, just let you know there are links in the description box to all of my products. Just go to the bottom of the description box. Under this video's title, you'll see the word more in bold. Click that, it opens up. Bottom of that, there's a link to my website where you can see a pictorial representation of all of my foam stamps, all of my stencils. Just click on the image, it'll take you straight through to PM Artist Studio, where you can get further details and order should you wish. I'll also put a link in the description box to this particular stamp set, that if you click it, it'll go straight through to PM Artist Studio. Okay, let's just show you what it is. I've called it Swatch It. Pretty much for obvious reasons, I would imagine. The moment you've seen those, you go, oh, I know what those are. Well, I did them, I'd probably say for selfish reasons, to be honest. I designed this because it was something that I wanted for me. And then when I started playing with the idea, I had spin-off other ideas, which I'll share with you now. So let me just tell you where the main driving inspiration came from. As you know, I swatch everything I have, from pens to paper, pens to not watercolors. Watercolors are done separately, but my acrylics, I do inks, I do pencils, all this, and this is where I keep a record. So say I ran out of pink, I would go through this book and see what all the pinks looked like, and then decide which one I wanted to replace, because this is all the paint I've ever owned. Do you know what I mean? This is quite a tome now. But what I was finding is I'm now having to use the backs of the pages, so I'm going to run out. And I thought, you know what, there's a more economical way to do this. I'm trying to find the first page now. Where am I going to? Right, so I can get 5 on a page normally, but look, if I stamp, and this is this one, the small one, it stamps twice on the page, I now get 10 on a page. Now, me being a bit of my brain makes me want to line things up. This makes me very happy because it forces me to write neatly. It forces me to, I don't have to worry about painting within the lines, but I don't need to see this big of a swatch. So this is where the idea for my Swatch It stamp comes. So I've now gone through here, and as you can see, I've now put all of these in. So this is going to last me a considerable amount of time now. Oh, those metallics, a considerable amount of time, and I'd have to make another. See, I was getting lazy. I'm going to get 4 on there. So that was the main inspiration. However, as with everything I design, it goes off on tangents. So I wanted it in 2 sizes, the larger version and the smaller version. I also, when I decided to have lines on it, I did have a discussion with PM Artist Studio, because they said, oh, we could make this into 2 stamps. We could have that as 1 stamp and that 1 stamp. And I went, no, don't do that. Because of my obsessive compulsive tendencies, I would never be able to line them up perfectly when I stamp. So I say, can we leave them as they are? And I'll show you how I stamp just sections if I want. Mind you, if you have these, you can take a sharp blade and cut down there. Just be careful, because you can damage something you purchased. So let's see, let's start with the small one first of all. I came through and I stamped, these were just bits of coffee dyed paper. And there were scraps in my scrap box, and I stamped them, and then I cut around them, and I put these in with on my desk. So whenever I'm doing a painty project, if I've got any small bits of paint left, I'm just going to paint in the little squares now and then. And over time, I will build up full ones of these, and they go into my ephemera for projects. Now, what would a project look like? So you know me, I make a tag for my website every time I launch something new. This is what this one looks like. That's how it started. That's how it ended up. And I chose the colors in here to paint the swatches in there. And these were just stamps I had of numbers. And I think I've got a signature stamp that's a cling stamp that I put them in because my handwriting is not the greatest. And I thought, if this is going to be on the internet showing off my stamp, I want it to be seen properly. So this was what I made just with the coffee dye paper. Now I'm going to work now, not with the small one, but the big one, because it's easier for you guys to see, and it would be the same process all the way along. So I would create these and have them on my desk, and that's what I created. So let's put that to one side. Now, I'm going to show you how I stamp the larger one and the reason I stamp it in the way I do, and then we'll go on to show you some of the techniques for using them. So I've got this pad of A5 sheets of, what does it say? It just says sketch pad. Oh, I picked it up because it's pencil, charcoal, water soluble, and watercolor paints. This was about £5 in my local store, and I can get 2 of these on one page. So here we go. Now, why am I cutting them after I've stamped them? I know that I can't, for love nor money, stamp straight. I've just, must be a dirty stamp. There you go. I can never get them right on the page. Okay, so my way of thinking is I can get 2 on there. Now I'm going to use a permanent ink. Now I'm using black for this video. You choose whatever you choose. This is quite a juicy brand, and this is the one I normally use. I struggle with this one on anything that's got any sort of coating on the paper. It takes longer to dry. This one dries within a few seconds. So I'm going to use this one for the video though, because I'm trying to use it up, to be honest with you, because I don't think I'm going to replace this one. I do like the archivals. Now I tend to stamp, putting the stamp down, I put the pad to the stamp and I keep it horizontal and up and down. If you go on angles, you are likely to catch the edges of the foam stamp, which might cause you some fallout with stamping. Doesn't bother me because none of this is for a showcase. This is purely for what I'm doing. So I try to line it pretty much up, put it on, and I give it an even pressure. Just give it a few seconds for the ink to transfer across. Now you can see there, I haven't stamped it straight, even though I thought I'd stamped it straight. So I turn this round and I repeat the process on the other side. So bear with me a second while I just do this. And just stamp it down there. Right, let's put the cover on this, give it an even pressure. And my intent is I'm going to go through the whole of this book and stamp and cut out these cards. And there's a reason behind my madness. And some would say it probably is madness. Next thing I'm going to do is just come in with a pair of scissors and split this down the middle. Now, one thing to mention, it's sort of the small one actually, because it's not got ink on, that when you buy a foam stamp, the image that you're stamping is only slightly raised from the background surface. I would say that's probably about just over 1 millimeter. So because it's foam, if you press it, you will get the image. If you really pound it, what you'll do is you will squish these little raised pieces and the background will come through. So I haven't done it here, or maybe just very, very faintly there. So that's why you'll get bits like this, is if you really push too hard on it. It's a foam stamp. That's what foam stamps do. So when I'm at this point, I pull out, I've got a small guillotine. You can use a trimmer, use whatever you wish. And I tend to slide this through, maybe come through from the other side, Griffiths, and I line up the line here parallel to the guard. I don't press it against there because I can't guarantee I've actually stamped it perfectly. And I come down. Once I've done that, I come in and I do a 90-degree angle at the top. Okay, so that gives me, that's right. No, I need a bigger one than this, don't I? Let's just put that, or do I? Yes, I do. Let me just get the bigger guillotine. I realise I pulled out the small one, and that one only goes to 4 inches, and I need it to be 5 inches. So I could do the same thing. Let's just do the same thing here. So this one, I come in, I will make sure the edge of the boxes are close to the edge of there, and I'll come in and I'll just slice off the top. Now I have, well, I've done some already here. I've started there. There's something there like fussy cutting. I'm going to do 1 or 2 a day, but I found out the perfect size for me. So we've already got this edge and this edge correct. So what I'm going to do is, I know this measurement is 3.5 inches. So if I come through and do 3.5 inches there, and then I do 5 inches this way. So I'm being a bit cautious because I don't want to smudge the ink if it's not dry. So that gives me that. So just get this sorted out. So this is 3.5. And this is the way that I get them. I'm not going to come in and get really pedantic, or they have to be absolutely centered. I have more of a chance of getting this centered by trimming the bigger piece of paper down than I have cutting this and trying to do it in the middle of this. I just know me. I can't do it, guys. It's just, there are certain things in life I know I'm not good at, and that's one of them. And then I'm just going to get my little corner rounder, because I like corners on things to be rounded because they're less likely to catch. And I like to use my punch upside down so I can see that the points of the corner have gone all the way into the stamp, into the punch. Right, we're almost there, and let me move on to the next bit then. So let's clean up all the rubbish. Into the bin it goes. So now, as I said, I'm going to start having a little stockpile of these on my desk. For projects that I'm doing. Okay, so this is going to be on my desk, and eventually I'll probably make a holder that will be the right width for these as we go along. Let's leave those there because I want to show you the reason I want them there. Actually, I could probably just do one for you. I shouldn't do it in a minute. So let me just get my phone. I want to show you some images. Let's just get into my phone. Okay, we are all familiar with this type of image. Okay, you've seen this. I love this sort of image. Panettone or Pantone does them and has done these images for years. And I do know that there's a product out there called the Cube. I can't remember the girl or the woman who's actually designed them. And there's a Cube 1 and a Cube 2. I think, yeah, there isn't a Cube 3 that I know of. And basically you buy this cube and it's full of cards just like that, with a scene and all the different colours in it. Now, to be honest with you, it's a brilliant idea. But with shipping and the cost of it, it's beyond my budget. And also, I don't know how many cards are in there. There's a considerable amount of cards in there. How many am I actually going to like? So I decided, right, there's a way around this. There's something I want to do. I am going to make my own. Now, as you may or may not know, I run something called Color Combo each month. Been doing it for about 4 years now, and it's usually 3 colors, and you can use black, white, and metallic with them. Recently, I put mark making into them, and over the years, there's been some really fabulous color combos. Do I remember what they are? No. So I'm going to go back through, and my favorite ones I'm going to make one of these cards for. And what I'm going to do is, because I'll know what the color combo was, I'm going to paint the colors in here, write the names of the paint, and then at a glance, if I want to try a color combination out, I'll have these done. But the reason I wanted to make these cards is I do a lot of glue booking. So things like this, if I find an image in a magazine, how many of us go, oh, I really love those colours together. I must remember that. And do we remember it? Heckers like, do we? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way through a few of my favourite images. Let's say this one. And I will bring in a card and I go, right, what's in there? Now, I'm going to use for this exercise, I've got some of these acrylic markers, only because it's quicker and easier for me to do this than doing it with paints. So if I just bring in a marker, now you could use anything you want, from watercolors to colored pencils to acrylic paints to markers, and I don't need to go all the way to the edges. So that color is in there. Let's see, there's a lighter color of that there. I'm just grabbing at the moment, guys. I will be a little more accurate and do color mixing and that when it comes time to do them for real for me. But I thought for the sake of this demonstration, this will be fine. Right, so we've got some pink in there. That's quite a bright pink. That's kind of in there. And you'll note I'm not staying in within the lines. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, granted, it's irking me, the fact that I'm not staying in the lines, but you know, I'm all right with that. I'm okay, right? There's a bit of a yellowy green in there as well. I think I can use that. And then, right, do I want blues? Right, so kind of got the sea in there. I've got the flowers in there. I don't have the sky, and I don't have anything sort of a sandy yellow. Let's see if I've got something that's a sandy sort of yellow. That's almost a sandy yellow. It's a bit darker than I thought it was going to be, but that's fine. For an example, we're okay. So now what I would do is, after I did this, whether I was doing it with the inks, watercolors, acrylic paints or markers, I could then go through and actually write down what these colors are. So if I pick this up in the future and go, oh, I really like that color combination, and go, right, what did I use? And I'm going to make my own version of these cards. Now, arguably, you could, if you wanted, stick this onto the back of the card as a reference, or this is only 5 inches tall. You could actually do a postcard or one that's twice this size and stick the image to it, but I don't want to do that. I just want to remember the color combinations because they were pleasing. So that's one use for it. And then let's put this to one side. Right, there is another use for this as well that you've already seen me do, and I will share with you in a moment how I did it and the results. Now, if you're anyone who does any sort of paper crafting, journaling or stuff like that, you probably have a box of these. These are like pieces you tear off the edges of book pages, strips of coffee dyed paper. You're going, you know, I spent ages coffee dyed paper, I'm not going to just waste it. These are something you're probably familiar with. I use them to stamp numbers and words and sayings and things on, and they become my own labels for my ephemera to be worked in. So that, if you've got one of these, and I mean, sometimes, I think some in the bottom here, sometimes when I've got a book, I will go through and see if there's any pages that have got like blank one side, and I'll use them for that. I could also use them to make the smaller ones. I could even use them to make the bigger ones if I wanted. So I'm going to keep a couple of strips out. Now, one thing I really wanted to do is, I like doing the cards, but as far as ephemera goes, my journaling and my art journaling and stuff like that, I like to do swatches. Just put that down so I don't get in the way. Now, I would advise getting yourself a spare bit of paper, and I'm just going to cover up the lines of the writing, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to tap along the squares. I'm going to come in, I'm just going to press the squares down, and I'm going to tap it down there as well, just a bit, because I can get 2 out of there. And I'm going to do that one more time because I've got this on the go. I might as well do it for you. Am I worried that this little bit is on the edge? No, I'm not. There's probably a way of doing it without, but I don't mind. I'm just trying to show you options as to how you can not get ink on the other side. And again, I'm going to come in, stamp a strip, stamp a strip. Right. Once you finish with one of these and you use it for ink, I don't tend to wash my foam stamps when I've been using them with ink. Okay, I just stamp them off and they're fine. You could do the very same thing with black acrylic paint, which you know I stamp black acrylic paint a lot. So let's see, right, so I've got these now. All I would do now is, where's my ruler? I will come down the side of here just with a regular ruler. I could use a tear ruler if I really wish to, and just tear this off. Just basically doing the best I can just to tidy it up. I am not worried about it being perfect. Now, you heard that here first from me, guys, because you know I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but it's a battle I feel I'm winning. Right, and once I've done that, I will probably come in and let's go through here, and I will make this 2. Right, do the same here. Bear with me a second, guys. I will be as quick as I can with this. Now, if one of your things doesn't stamp well enough, you've got a couple of options. You could tear it out, or you can just grab yourself a marker and put the line that didn't stamp well back in again. Or, to be honest, for what I'm going to use them for, you don't even need to worry about it. So I'm going to take that partial one off the bottom. Now it's very unlikely I'm going to use a whole strip this long, so I'm going to come in, take that off there. So the option here, I could use a ruler and a marker just to fill that in. I could, when I colour it in, I know where the line would end, or I could do this and just take it off. Right, so let's take all of the garbage out of the way. Now, I've also done this with the small one. So just know that I'm working big because that's what I want you to see. Now, these I will keep in a pot on my desk. And I want them on my desk because as I'm painting, there's always spare paint. You've seen me use it up in book page art. You've seen it used for clean up tissue. But say I've got paint on the go and I've got a pot of these in, just grab yourself a small paintbrush, pick up your spare paint and just give them a bit of a paint in. I mean, as you've seen, I just picked up a marker. I could come in here and just go, right, I'm just going to do some of these just to build my stash up and put some colours in. So let's just grab a couple of colour of these. You could use Posca markers, you can use whatever markers you usually use, or as I said, I'm going to be using them with paints because that's just the way I roll. That's what I want to use. I probably wouldn't have put these colours together, but I just wanted to show you that I've got an example of what they look like. So once this is done, it will go into my box. And this is a box. Now, this is a box that inspired this idea. And this idea was inspired by Darcy Sanders, who did some painty type swatches a long time ago. And I saw them and went, oh, that's a brilliant idea. So this box is pretty much the version before this. Now, this one actually is one of these finished. But as you can see, I used to colour them in by hand. And then I did a little bit of stamping on them, just for stamps that I had, anything that makes sense. And these little bits then became, let's put that one in there, what you saw me use when I did my altered book. Now, just because I know someone's going to ask me, in the description box below, I will put a link to video 1 of the altered book, because you're going to ask me, can you see it? And I'm going to say yes. So in here, when I do pages, there you go, there's one of those strips. Actually, it's that very size. And I just used, that was acrylic paint because I had acrylic paint on the go, and I just stamped it. So let's see, there's quite a few in here. I love using them. Where are you? Oh, there's a little one there, as you can see. They're just a quick way of adding something that's uniquely yours to a page. Why is it I can't see them now? Oh, there's another one there. Let's just do a bit of random one. I use them a lot in this. Why can't I find them all? There's another one there. They're just really handy. I found that I was like, there's a big one down there. I found that they were just really handy as an element. And you see, I've got a box full of them now. And you can stick them to the side of a tag. You can put them on a journal card. You know, sometimes when you've got that thing that you don't quite like on your journal card or something, you're like, what can I cover it up with? One of these is great. It just puts a little bit of interest, and it's a way of recycling, firstly, the papers into this, but also it gives you ephemera that's actually yours. So as I go along, I will just build this stock back up again. There's one I painted in. Now, granted, I went all the way to the edges with that one because I was seeing how neat I could be. That's really time consuming. I would much rather do this sort of look where they're a little bit rough, where I've just painted them in quickly. These were hand drawn around. These are stamped. So having a stash of these on my desk means I can achieve those a lot quicker. So just to summarize, we've got this, which can be done in 2 sizes. Also, if you're someone who does watercolor work, you may want to stamp that on the side of your, say you've got a watercolor journal, you could stamp this on one side of your journal to keep track of what colors you're using. But so go, those are the strips, these are the cards, and these are the bigger cards that are going to become my version of like the Pantone stuff. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. That was just a little launch video from me. As you can see, I used it there with the whole thing. I could easily have just used that strip and added colour to it. So hopefully you like that, guys, until I've got more launches coming out next month, being November. What is launching next November? Ooh, I've got an exciting one for next November. Well, they're all exciting, but you know, I've got one really, really exciting one for next November, and I'm really, really psyched about getting it done. So, guys, I'm going to leave you here. I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. I'll see you next time. Goodbye now.